What is up, guys? Coop here, and today we're going to be talking about the Coffee Lock build. This is a build that actually allows you to do unlimited spells, making it a really powerful character when getting into D&D. However, keep in mind that some DMs will actually ban this, as it is a really powerful option. However, if your DM is doing a thing such as a harder campaign, or he typically kills off characters and you want this character to stay alive a lot longer, I do suggest this character going out there. So, with the precautions going forward, let's dive into the character build. So the first thing that we need to do is, obviously, I'm using the point system for my stats. You can use the role-based system. Role-based system does have the potential of making you a little bit worse or better than the typical point system. More often than not, it makes it usually to where you're a better character overall. However, I did the point system. It's basically in the book. It's right before you get into your races and everything and building your character, and basically it uses 27 points with a nice little numeric scale. But basically what I did is I put, strength as my lowest, a little bit into dex, con, intelligence, wisdom, with charisma being my highest and con being shortly after, with dexterity and intelligence at a nice mid-grade, just to give us some stats and everything to give us a little bit of flavor for our character. Obviously, strength is not at all important to our character whatsoever, and wisdom, you just want to get to the point where you don't have a negative in things like perception. So, with that going forward, let's look at the race. The race I chose was High Elf. Basically, I chose High Elf because of a certain trait that we will be diving into a little bit. But if you do want to mid-max and get a little bit more of the other stuff out there, and give yourself some more bonuses, I would say Half Elf is a nice one to pick as well, along with Tiefling or Human. Basically, charisma modifier is always good to give yourself a little bit more of a boost to your spells. However, for this, the trance ability will be one of the things we use in this combo to give us a lot of spell slots. Other than that, though, it is nice to have the dexterity, because the dexterity gives us a little bit more, which will allow us to have a higher AC on some of our armor types. So that'll be really nice going forward. Next is obviously having perception proficiency. Makes it to where it's really good, because obviously we don't want to put too many points into wisdom, and we still want to have a little bit of an edge when things come into play that we need to perceive. As for the weapon training is not really needed at all. Can't be put to sleep, and the advantage on charms is pretty nice. It's pretty helpful, especially later on, especially any fey wild creatures. They love to put charms and put you guys to sleep. The next thing is, obviously, you get to choose a wizard cantrip and use it with your sort of intelligence modifier. Now, our intelligence modifier is obviously not too bad. It's at a nice solid 12 at the moment, but it doesn't really matter what you pick for this cantrip, because you're going to have so many spells and so many spell options that you're not going to be really using whatever cantrip. I chose Firebolt, though. The wizard cantrips and the sorcerer cantrips, they're exactly the same, so you could just pick a random one if you want, like Dancing Lights or something. I chose Firebolt, but because that's a natural good cantrip. But just keep in mind, when you do cast that, you use your intelligence modifier. So we're obviously going to be multi-classing with this character. We're going to be doing the Sorcerer and the Warlock. So when multi-classing, it's very difficult to actually kind of do. A lot of players don't do it correctly. So when doing a spellcaster based character, when you are actually, doing your classes and everything, it's important that you actually kind of read into it and read exactly how it's done. So basically, when doing your stuff, you don't add all your spell slots together. What you do is you basically add the amount of levels that you have in, Bard, Cleric, Druid, Sorcerer, and Wizard. Warlock's not included. And basically what you do is you just add that together. Other classes, you have to level that and whatnot. Then what you do is you do that and you carry it over to a chart that they have. For the chart that we have, we're going to be doing a total of 2 levels into Sorcerer. So by having 2 levels into Sorcerer, we're considered a second level caster of the multi-class, allowing us to get a total of 3 first level slots. Now, one of the things that is important, though, is we're going to be using Pact Magic. Pact Magic is completely different compared to the other stuff. So what happens with that is we just get 2 additional spell slots of any level of what we can cast. So in this example, we are an Adventurer level 4. So this is going to be where the combo comes in, and then after the combo is done, you guys can build it however you want. But once you get the combos, this is when you're able to do your spell casting potential. But basically, this allow at level 4, we're going to be able to have 6 cantrips. So many cantrips. Like I said, the wizard one doesn't even matter because we'll just have so many cantrips. And then we're going to have a level 3 of the first level spell slots, which comes with our 2 in Sorcerer. And then we're going to have 2 additional packs slots. So we technically have a total of 5 spell slots in total. Now there's a little bit way more that we can do with this and manipulate that, but just keep that in mind that we technically have a total of 5 spell slots. Now as in time, when you start to get more spell slots, you can actually use those pack spell slots for other things out there. So that will be pretty interesting. Now, before we jump into actually talking about the different classes and sort of how this could work out, keep in mind that you will have to role play this out. You can't just be magically a sorcerer and then magically get a warlock and magically get like a patron. You have to think of a story and a reason of how you got to get this patron. So keep that in mind when going forward. As for the patron that I suggest we pick the Pack of the Fiend, which later on we will be picking. So when picking up your warlock and doing everything, talk to your GM early and say like, hey, I am going to be going after a patron once I get past 2nd level sorcerer, so be prepared to make a story element for that if the DM allows it. And then once basically you have that, you can start to develop your build here. So just keep that in mind that you're going to have to RP that way some way, or start off as a warlock and then get rid of your patron and then become a sorcerer. There's a lot of potential and a lot of story elements you can do there. I suggest choosing Sorcerer first, then going Warlock, and then going back to Sorcerer again, but the choice is really up to you. I think the Warlock to Sorcerer is a better transition, but that's RP. It doesn't really matter. If you can figure out a way to do it, that's a lot fine and dandy. Now going into the sorcering levels here. So basically you go from 1 to 2. You're starting at your first level, you have 8 life because of your constitution and everything, but also keep in mind that you're going to be choosing a thing that gives you a little bit more life. And you get a con and charisma saving throw. So this gives us our nice little saving throws up here. And then you also get to choose the Draconic Bloodline. This one just felt like the best. It does really well with a bunch of other things, especially if you decide to go for your Warlock Fiend, where you can kind of choose what resistances you have, and then you can partner it up with different resistances and have 2 different resistant types. There's a lot of really cool combos you can do with that, and I kind of leave that up to you guys to figure out what type of build you want to do with that. But this is just the early game build of how you can build it. So obviously you get to choose a sort of damage type and later on resistance type. Now as magical power flows through you, you actually get 1 additional life point, and then every time you put a point into Sorcerer, you get an additional life point in there. Really awesome there. Next also you get this thing where it allows you to, while you're not wearing armor, your AC is 13 plus your dex. So basically this is the same exact thing that mage armor does. It gives you 13 plus your dex with casting as a spell. This allows you basically to get free mage armor. Super awesome, giving us a nice AC here of 15, which is pretty good for a spellcaster, especially going forward. Now at 2nd level, this is when you get your sorcery points. This is another thing that's actually kind of important. Sorcery points is basically something that you will get as you level up in your sorcery stuff. And what's nice about these is you can actually convert these into spell slots. There's other things that you can do with them as well, but converting them to spell slots is actually one of the most important things because it will allow us to do our build here. So as you guys can see here, we get 2 sorcery points, which allows us, if we wanted to get rid of it, we could go over and make another 1st level spell slot. Now we would have a total of where is it? We could have a total of 4 1st level spell slots and 2 additional spell slots. So that is a total of 6 spell slots. That's actually pretty amazing. I didn't even think about that in my head. That's 6 spell slots right then and there. That's pretty powerful. Now, going forward though, it's also, as a bonus action, you can expend 1 of your spell slots to gain sorcery points to be equal to that slot's level. So one of the things that you got to keep in mind is that these pack slots right here you can use at whatever spell that you know. So what that means is, since we have a bunch of first levels, we can destroy them and then just make a bunch of first level slots. And then as time goes on, we can destroy them and make them into a bunch of second level slots. Now there will be a more mention of the combo, but we have to first finish up what the combo actually is. But basically you can destroy your Warlock slots to give yourself more spell slots in something else. We'll dive into why that's going to be important in a second. Now the next thing is, obviously at your first level you get your light armor proficiency, so you're able to put on light armor. Doesn't really matter though, because we obviously have our AC that's pretty high already, but if you do happen to get more dex or find some light gear, you are welcome to use it. Next we get our wisdom saving throw, so giving us yet another proficient saving throw. And then next we get to choose our skills here. I chose investigation and history, so with choosing arcana, religion, and investigation and history, it just really kind of builds into this very knowledgeable character that kind of knows a lot of different things here. So obviously I didn't click up here, but you guys get the gist. Then next thing is you pick your patron. I suggest the Pact of the Fiend, because what the Pact of the Fiend does is, starting at first level, when you reduce when basically you kill a target, you gain temporary hit points equal to your charisma modifier plus Warlock level. This says, I actually looked a little bit more into this because the book doesn't say anything and it's kind of left up for grabs. It does last as long as a short rest would. So basically this would last roughly about an hour after you kill a target. So that's pretty interesting, and as a spellcaster it gives you a way of gaining life. So we're going to be doing a lot of major plays, and especially going forward you're going to want to have some different ways of gaining life. So with us having our life gained from a little bit of Draconic, so we have a little bit more life, we also are going to be able to get some more temporary life, giving us all the life, which is beautiful for the Warlock. Next is the final piece of the puzzle, which is Invocations. Basically what you're going to be doing is you're going to pick Eldritch Sight, because it allows you to do detect magic without having to use a spell slot. Very helpful. I find this one to be one of the most helpful things out there, is just being able to detect magic every time you walk into a room at will. It's super duper nice to just have, and a very helpful tool to have in your group instead of wasting those precious spell slots for it, even though spell slots will not be an issue as soon as we pick this. The Aspect of the Moon, which basically allows it to where our character no longer needs sleep, meaning we can get our spell slots after just going through the day. So instead of having to do any rests or anything, it takes us just walking around for 8 hours, and then boom, we get a spell slot back. But keep in mind, we chose a High Elf, which has Trance, which basically halves the time needed to regain your spell slots. So this is where the combo comes in. So how the combo works, and just give me some time to explain it, it will make full sense. So basically you no longer require sleep. So no longer will you have to do a short or long rest to regain spell slots. You just have to wait for the time. So how the time works is, over the course of the day, you now have it in half of how you would normally get your rest. So usually 4 hours would equal roughly what 8 is. However, with Warlock spell slots, you get them after a short rest, which is only usually about an hour. So now, in less than 30 minutes, you basically can get a Warlock slot back. So what you do with these Warlock slots is you basically are able to, get rid of them to get sorcery points. Then you use these sorcery points to give yourself, the spell slot that you need. Then what you do with that spell slot is you just keep it, and you just keep doing this the entire day. So say like everybody goes to the inn and has a bunch of fun. For those 6 hours you could be destroying your Warlock spell slots and getting those spell slots for later on. Now what's really nice about having all these spell slots is you never have to rest, so basically you just keep making spell slots. You just keep making spell slots, and then what you can do is by the time an encounter comes, you can have like 12 or 15 spell slots from all the different hours that you've just played, giving yourself a wide variety of spells and utility to do a dungeon encounter and not have to give any care in the world of wasting or what person deserves what sort of spell slots. Now we also have our really strong cantrips along the way, and the DM might honestly try to rush you or send like assassins at you whenever you're trying to make extra spell slots, but keep in mind that you have a bunch of these powerful cantrips as well. So that's basically how the combo works. You don't require sleep. Trance cuts down the time in half. So basically, short rest usually would get your spell slots for your Warlock back, but because obviously you have trance, it cuts it down in half, which means every half hour you're able to get a Warlock slot, which means you can destroy it for sorcery points to give yourself the spell slots that you need to give yourself more stuff, and then these spell slots will regen faster than having to get the spell slots the original way, allowing yourself to be, I think you guys get the general gist. But if we had to actually look at the cantrips to actually pick, obviously you get a crap ton of cantrips. I think we got a total of 6. Yeah, we had a total of 6. These are just some of the ones I kind of liked. Dancing Lights, it just adds a little bit of light to the different area. Eldritch Blast, because it's one of the most powerful ones out there, and especially if you decide to go more into the Warlock side, there's a lot of invocations you can add to it to make it a really powerful spell. Also, as you level up, you are able to get more beams that you can roll for everything and kind of throw at everything. Next I chose is Firebolt as well. Firebolt is like Eldritch Invocation, but instead of doing multiple beams and having to roll for each beam, it's just a one-time roll. So it makes it really a powerful spell, especially going forward. So that's one to actually look at, because nobody likes an Eldritch Blast that you want to hit him with 4d10s and basically have 2 of them miss and then the other 2 hit. While that is nice, Firebolt and having it just to where it's a one-time damage is pretty nice. Next is Mage Hand, just because Mage Hand you can just use it for so many different occasions, such as grabbing keys to get you out of a cell, just grabbing things in general. Mage Hand is just really nice, and especially because we have a higher dexterity, you're able to probably do a lot of sneaky bastard stuff with it. Next is Minor Illusion, just a really good average cantrip. Now, we're actually going to get into the first level spells here. Obviously, later on, you're going to be getting second and third and fourth and fifth level spells, but I felt like I just wanted to go with the bases of the build, because this one, you can kind of build how you want, and it is typically banned, so I just wanted to make sure that, I wanted to get enough into the build to where you can still kind of make your own mistakes and kind of get into it without it being a completely min-max thing. But one of the things that I chose here was Burning Hands, which comes from our patron, which gives us that expanded spell book. So the thing I liked about this was it's a cone, so if you have a bunch of enemies all clumped together, you can do a bunch of damage right at them, and basically you do about 3d6 on them, and then half of they succeed, and it's a dex save. So pretty nice there. Obviously we got Detect Magic through our Invocation. Hex, which is another powerful spell that is awesome, that we can just bounce around from different targets and they take additional damage. So that one's really awesome. That one, basically you can just do Comprehending it and bounce it from different people, which makes the encounters really nice. Now the next thing is obviously Magic Missile. Magic Missile is really awesome. Now, Magic Missile might not look as strong as Eldritch Blast at first, but keep in mind that there's 3 bolts that you get with these. And what's awesome about these bolts is they always will be able to do at least 1 damage. Well, technically at least 2 damage. So that's pretty helpful as well. And they basically attack all at once, and they can hit multiple different targets. So as you guys can kind of see, the theme here is like if you're, if there's a bunch of enemies all clumped together, you have a way of dealing with it. If there's some single target, you have some single target spells you can hit with while having Hex to bounce around from different targets, and then you have Mage Missiles if they're a little bit more scarcely spread out. And the next thing I chose was Shield, which basically just allows us to have a little bit of a higher AC, which is awesome because just basically put a barrier above ourselves and hold on to ourselves to make sure that we're good, giving us ourselves a AC of 20, which makes us pretty strong in that occasion. So anyways guys, I want to thank you guys for looking at my build that I did. Obviously Coffee Lock has been something that's been talked about in the forums forever. I actually discovered this build and was building it, and then I realized it's already a thing, so I didn't want to take full credit of it, because after I learned the title, I wanted to add that in there. But this is a way for you guys to get unlimited spells. Now, obviously, it's unlimited spells with you wasting a lot of time, but keep in mind that spell slots don't really go away. But in general, it's really cool to see this build that if you were to do a really hardcore build, you can really go out there and do a lot of good damage and do a lot of good deeds with this. Now, keep in mind that most DMs do kind of ban this, but there are certain DMs out there that will actually make it to where, like, it's really, really, really intense and really hard to play, and it's, I like to always say it's a higher level gameplay session, because, you know, most D&D people, they do it to where, like, everybody's awesome, and then storytelling and all that, and then there's also like GMs who just go like, alright, this is going to be the hardcore like D&D session, so bring your A game, bring your best builds, let's go. Like, this is going to be like a level 20 type of stuff. So this is a nice little build for you guys to do out there to get yourself a lot of spell slots to be able to deal with that type of encounter. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed. There's a lot of other different things you can do with this build, but I wanted to show you a really cool way of getting into that hardcore spellcastery character while giving yourself a really good balance of AC, giving yourself a lot of you know, spell slots, and then at the same time giving yourself a lot of, you know, different roleplay aspects. I mean, obviously we have a lot of different skills here. We've got a very good knowledge base. There's a lot of things you can really build with this character. A lot of RP with being a warlock and a sorcerer. You know, with somebody born of magic, and then at the same time somebody who's gifted some magic. There's a lot of really cool potential you can do there. Anyways, I thank you guys for watching. I will see you guys next time.